Sometimes a single act of kindness can change more lives than all the wealth in the world. Ethan Wallace sat quietly in the back seat of his black SUV, staring out the window as the car moved through the small coastal town. The ocean breeze brushed against the glass, but he barely noticed. He was a man who had everything: money, power, famed, but inside, he felt empty. 2 years ago, his wife, Clara, had died in a car accident that also left their 6-year-old son, Leo, unable to walk properly. Since that day, Ethan's heart had turned cold. He threw himself into work, building his tech company into one of the biggest in the country. But no amount of success could fill the silence that waited for him at home. Leo sat beside him in his wheelchair, holding a small toy car. The boy was quiet, staring down at the toy as if lost in thought. Ethan wanted to say something, maybe tell him a story or ask how he was feeling, but the words never came out. It was easier to stay quiet. That's what their life had become: quiet days, quiet dinners, quiet drives. Ethan often told himself he was doing his best. He provided everything his son needed: the best doctors, the best therapists, the best schools. But deep down, he knew that what Leo really needed wasn't money. It was his father. When Ethan's private jet landed that morning, it wasn't for pleasure. He had a business retreat to attend nearby, a meeting with investors at a luxury resort. His therapist had suggested he take Leo along, saying it might be good for both of them to spend time together. Ethan agreed, though mostly out of guilt. He didn't know how to be the kind of father Leo needed anymore. As the car moved through town, Leo tugged lightly at his sleeve. "Daddy, I'm hungry," he said softly. Ethan glanced at his watch. "All right, buddy. We'll find a place to eat." The driver pulled into a small diner at the corner of a quiet street. It was nothing like the sleek restaurants Ethan was used to. The sign above the door was faded, and the smell of fresh pancakes drifted through the air. Ethan almost told the driver to keep going, but Leo's face lit up when he saw the cartoon pictures of food on the window. So he sighed and said, "This will do." Inside, the diner was warm and full of chatter. Families sat together, laughing. A few construction workers ate breakfast at the counter. Ethan felt out of place in his expensive suit, but Leo seemed curious, his eyes moving around the room. They found a small booth near the window, and Ethan ordered coffee while Leo asked for pancakes. That's when she appeared. The waitress was young, maybe in her 20s, with kind eyes and a simple ponytail. Her name tag read Maya. She carried herself with quiet energy, moving quickly between tables, but never looking rushed. When she reached them, she smiled. "Good morning. What can I get you to?" Ethan gave her a polite nod and handed her the menu. Coffee, black, and pancakes for him. Maya crouched slightly beside Leo's wheelchair, smiling at him. "Hi there, champ. You want chocolate chips in your pancakes?" Leo looked up shyly. "Can I?" "Of course you can," she said warmly. "Chocolate makes everything better." Ethan watched, a little surprised. Most people didn't talk to Leo like that. They either ignored him or spoke too carefully, as if he were fragile. But Maya spoke to him like he was any other kid. Leo smiled, and Ethan noticed how his son's shoulders relaxed. When Maya brought the food, Leo tried to cut his pancakes but struggled to hold the fork properly. Ethan was busy on his phone, checking emails, barely noticing. But Maya did. Without hesitation, she came over and knelt beside him. "Hey, no worries. Here, let me help you get started." She guided his hand gently, showing him how to hold the fork in a way that gave him more control. Leo laughed when a piece of pancake flipped off the plate. "Oops." Maya laughed too. "That's okay. Pancakes are sneaky sometimes." Ethan looked up then, his phone screen glowing in his hand. For a moment, he just watched them, his son laughing with a stranger, his face bright in a way Ethan hadn't seen in months. Something stirred inside him, something he hadn't felt since before the accident. He couldn't remember the last time he'd seen Leo look that happy. When they finished eating, Maya brought the bill. "You two visiting?" she asked, smiling as she wiped the table. "Business trip," Ethan said shortly. He wasn't used to small talk with waitresses, but Maya didn't seem to notice his cold tone. "Well, your boy is a sweetheart. You should bring him by again. We've got the best milkshakes in town," she said, winking at Leo. Leo grinned. Can we, Daddy? Ethan hesitated, about to say no, but then he saw the excitement in his son's eyes. We'll see, he said softly. As they left, Ethan turned back for a second. Maya was helping an elderly man at another table, smiling as she refilled his coffee. There was something about her, something simple and good. Ethan couldn't explain it, but it stayed with him. That night at the hotel, Leo couldn't stop talking about her. Daddy, she was so nice. She didn't care about my chair. She just talked to me. Ethan nodded slowly. She was nice. I want to go back tomorrow, Leo said, his eyes already closing as sleep pulled him in. Ethan didn't answer. He sat there for a long time, watching his son sleep. The sound of the waves outside mixed with the hum of the air conditioner. For the first time in years, he felt a quiet tug in his heart, a reminder that there were still kind people in the world. People like Maya, who did good things without asking for anything back. The next morning, Ethan found himself driving back to the diner without really planning to. Leo was excited, his face bright. When they entered, Maya looked up from behind the counter and smiled as if she'd been expecting them. Hey, there's my little pancake expert. Leo laughed, and Ethan couldn't help but smile too. He didn't know it yet. But that small diner and that kind-hearted waitress were about to change everything for both him and his son. Ethan and Leo began going to the little diner every morning. At first, Ethan told himself it was just because Leo liked the pancakes, but deep down he knew it was more than that. There was something about that place, something warm and calm that made him forget about the noise of his busy world. And there was Maya. Every time they walked in, she greeted them with that same bright smile, as if seeing them made her day better. For Leo, she was the best part of the trip. Hey, my pancake buddy is back, she would say, waving from across the diner. Leo would wave back, grinning so wide that Ethan couldn't help but smile a little too. Every morning followed a small, simple routine. Ethan ordered his usual black coffee, and Maya always remembered to bring extra syrup for Leo. She'd sit beside him for a moment, showing him how to balance his fork or helping him pick up a dropped spoon without making him feel embarrassed. She talked to him like he was any other kid, no pity, no sadness in her voice. She teased him, made him laugh, and treated him with kindness that felt natural. Not forced, Ethan began noticing things about her that he hadn't at first. She moved quickly between tables, but she never looked tired. When an older woman came in and sat alone, Maya would sit beside her for a few seconds, chatting before taking another order. When a child spilled a drink, Maya didn't sigh or scold. She just laughed, grabbed a towel, and said, "Don't worry. Accidents make life interesting." One morning, when Leo dropped his crayon box, Maya crouched to help him pick it up. "You know," she said, "my little brother always used to drop his crayons too." Then he started drawing with both hands, so he didn't have to worry about losing time. "You have a little brother?" Leo asked. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "He's 15 now. He's a good kid. He's got some health problems, but he's tough. Stronger than most people I know." Ethan looked up from his coffee. For a second, their eyes met. There was something in her tone, something gentle, but full of quiet struggle. She didn't talk about herself much, but that one line told Ethan a lot. Later that day, he asked one of the locals at a nearby shop about her. The man nodded. "Maya Collins. Sweet girl. Works double shifts here and at the grocery store. Takes care of her brother alone. Their parents passed a while back. She doesn't complain, though. Just keeps going." Ethan felt something twist in his chest. He had met countless people in his life, powerful, rich, ambitious, but rarely someone who worked that hard out of pure love. And the way she treated Leowit wasn't because of sympathy. It was because she understood what it meant to care for someone who needed extra help. The next morning, Ethan sat quietly, watching her as she moved around the diner. He noticed how she smiled through everything, even when her shoes were soaked from spilled coffee, or when a customer complained about the wait. Leo, of course, was talking nonstop. "Daddy," Maya said, "she'll teach me how to draw a dog today." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's nice, buddy." When Maya came by, she placed a napkin on the table and began drawing quick. Funny sketches: a lopsided dog, a smiling sun, a stick figure in a cape. Leo giggled loudly. "Now it's your turn," she said, handing him the pen. Leo hesitated, his small hands shaking as he tried to draw. The lines came out crooked, but Maya clapped her hands anyway. "That's amazing. Look at that superhero dog. He's ready to save the world." Ethan couldn't stop watching. It wasn't the drawings that mattered. It was how she made his son believe he could do anything. For the first time in a long time, Ethan didn't feel helpless. The bond between Leo and Maya grew stronger each day. She would bring him little surprises, a free cookie, a paper crown she folded from napkins, or a small puzzle to work on while waiting for food. Ethan noticed that Leo laughed more now, talked more, even tried to move his arms and legs more during his therapy sessions back at the hotel. Maya's kindness had somehow given him confidence that no doctor ever had. One afternoon, it started raining heavily just as they were leaving the diner. Ethan went to get the car, while Leo waited by the door. When he returned, he saw Maya holding an umbrella over Leo, shielding him from the rain. She was soaked, but she didn't care. "Thank you," Ethan said as he helped Leo into the car. She smiled and shrugged. "Rain's just water. He's too cool to get wet," Ethan chuckled softly, a sound he hadn't made in a long time. But that evening, something happened that touched him even more. As they were driving away, Leo said, "Daddy, she makes me feel like I'm not broken." Ethan's heart sank and swelled at the same time. He hadn't realized Leo ever felt that way, but it made perfect sense. He reached over and squeezed his son's hand. "You're not broken, Leo. You're my strong boy." Leo smiled. "That's what Maya says too." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Maya, about her strength, her kindness, her quiet courage. She didn't have much, yet she gave so much of herself to everyone around her. He thought about his own life, how he had everything money could buy, but none of the peace she seemed to have. The next morning, when they arrived, the diner was crowded. Ethan offered to wait, but Maya waved them over. "You two get the window seat? You're regulars now." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Regulars?" "Yep," she said with a grin. "You're part of the family." Leo laughed proudly. "We're family, Daddy." Ethan smiled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, a sense of belonging. He realized how much those small moments meant, how much they had changed his days. Maya had become more than just a waitress. She was a reminder of everything real and human he'd lost touch with. One day, as they were leaving, Leo's wheelchair got stuck on a curb outside the diner. Before Ethan could react, Maya rushed over and gently helped lift the front wheels. "There you go, hero. You're free." Leo laughed, raising his arms. Super Leo escapes again. She high-fived him, and Ethan found himself laughing too. As they drove away, Ethan glanced at the mirror and saw her waving from the sidewalk, still smiling even as rain began to fall again. He couldn't stop thinking about her, not because of how she looked, but because of who she was. She reminded him of his late wife in a small wake, kind, selfless, and full of light. Ethan didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear. This trip, which was supposed to be just another business obligation, had become something entirely different. Because of one young waitress with a tired smile and a big heart, both he and Leo were starting to heal. The sky was dark and heavy that evening when Ethan and Leo left the hotel. Clouds rolled over the ocean, and thunder rumbled in the distance. Ethan had promised Leo one last dinner at the diner before they returned to the city the next day. He didn't want to admit it, but he was looking forward to seeing Maya again too. Something about her calm presence made the world feel softer. Even for a little while, they were halfway there when rain started to pour, thick and fast. The wipers struggled to keep the windshield clear, and the streets quickly turned shiny with puddles. When they finally reached the diner, the sign outside flickered weakly in the storm. Ethan parked the car and hurried out to help Leo. The boy laughed as rain splashed on his hands. "It's raining so hard, Daddy? We'll get soaked." "Let's move fast," Ethan said, holding an umbrella over him. But by the time they reached the door, they were both drenched. Inside, the diner was cozy and smelled of coffee and baked pie. A few customers sat near the windows, watching the storm outside. Maya looked up from the counter, surprised to see them. You two really came out in this weather, she said, laughing as she handed them some napkins. You're brave. Leo wouldn't let me cancel, Ethan said with a small smile. Of course not, Maya replied. We can't let a little rain stop pancake night. They took their usual booth by the window, and lightning flashed outside as Maya brought hot chocolate for Leo and coffee for Ethan. On the house, she said, rainy days need warm drinks. Ethan noticed how icily she made everyone around her comfortable. Even the old man sitting alone at the counter was smiling as she chatted with him. When she passed their table again, she noticed Leo staring at the lightning. You know, she said, my brother used to be scared of storms too. I told him the thunder was just clouds playing drums. Leo laughed. Really? Yep, she said with a wink. And lightning is their light show. The power flickered once, then again. Finally, it went out completely. The diner went dark except for a few candles some people had on their tables. A few customers gasped, but Maya quickly took charge. Okay, no panic, she said cheerfully. We've got candles and coffee. That's enough for a party. She moved from table to table, lighting small candles and cracking jokes. When she reached Ethan and Leo, she placed a candle in the center of their table. The soft glow made the moment strangely peaceful. Leo clapped his hands. Now it's a campfire. Maya laughed. Exactly. And every campfire needs stories. So, she began telling a funny story about how she once tried to bake cookies and accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Everyone laughed, even Ethan. For the first time in a long while, he felt part of something normal and simple. As they ate by candlelight, Ethan found himself watching her again. She was tired. He could see it in her eyes, but she never let it show. Her kindness wasn't forced. It was part of who she was. Leo was giggling, crumbs all over his face, and Maya leaned over to wipe them gently with a napkin. You've got chocolate on your nose. Superhero, she said, making him laugh harder. Ethan's chest felt warm. Seeing Leo this happy, it was something he hadn't thought possible again. When the rain finally slowed and customers began to leave, Maya went around making sure everyone got home safely. She looked out the window and frowned when she saw Ethan's car. Oh no, looks like your headlights are dim. Might be the battery. Ethan stepped outside to check, and she was right. The car wouldn't start. He sighed, trying not to show frustration in front of Leo. Maya grabbed her umbrella. You two can't wait out there. Come inside. It's warmer. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't used to accepting help from anyone, especially not strangers. But Leo was yawning and the rain started again, so he nodded. Thank you. Inside, Maya brought them blankets from the back of the diner and made more hot chocolate. The power was still out, but the place felt safe and calm. Leo lay back, sleepy, while Maya entertained him with napkin puppets. She made one shaped like a superhero and another like a robot, giving them funny voices. Ethan sat nearby, quietly watching. Her laughter filled the room, and Leo's face glowed in the candlelight. He hadn't seen that light in his son's eyes for so long. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel like a billionaire sitting in a small-town diner. He felt like a father again. When the rain stopped and the car finally started, Ethan reached for his wallet. You've done more than enough tonight. Please let me pay you for your trouble. He placed a $100 bill on the counter. Maya shook her head firmly. No. You already paid for dinner. I didn't do anything special, Ethan frowned. You gave us your time. You helped us when you didn't have to, she smiled, but her eyes were serious. You'd do the same if you saw someone stuck in a storm. It's not about money. It's just being decent. Her words hit him harder than he expected. He'd spent years surrounded by people who did everything for a price, partners, clients, even so-called friends. Yet here she was, refusing his money for the simplest, most human reason. He folded the bill back into his pocket slowly. You're a rare kind of person, Maya. She laughed softly. Nah, just stubborn. As they said goodbye, Leo hugged her tightly. Thank you for the stories. Anytime, buddy, she said, smiling. You keep drawing superheroes for me, okay? I will. Ethan stood there for a moment, watching her wave as they drove away. The headlights cut through the fog, and he couldn't stop thinking about her words. It's not about money. It's just being decent. They echoed in his head long after they reached the hotel. Later that night, Ethan sat by the window, watching raindrops slide down the glass. Leo was fast asleep, holding one of the napkin puppets Maya had made. Ethan stared at the little paper figure and felt something shift inside him. For years, he'd believed that love, loyalty, and kindness were things you could buy, things that depended on wealth or success. But Maya had shown him something different, something simple and real. She had treated him and his son not like a billionaire and his disabled child, but like people, just people. And that small act of kindness had reached deeper than she could ever imagine. Ethan realized how empty his life had become. All the business meetings, the luxury homes, the endless emails, it all felt meaningless compared to the warmth of that candlelit diner. For the first time in years, he wanted to change something. He didn't know how yet. But he knew this. He couldn't go back to being the same man he was before that stormy night. He looked at Leo's sleeping peacefully, his tiny fingers still holding the crumpled napkin puppet, and smiled to himself. Maya's kindness had given his son joy and had reminded Ethan that there were still good people in the world. Maybe it wasn't too late for him to learn how to be one of them. After returning to the city, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Maya, her laughter, her kindness, the way she treated Leo like he was just another kid instead of someone broken. It all stayed with him. At first, he tried to ignore it. He had meetings to attend, emails to answer, deals to close. That was his world. But every time he saw Leo's small smile or remembered the way Maya had made him laugh at the diner, he felt a tug in his chest that wouldn't go away. He began asking his assistant to quietly gather information about her. Not in a way that felt intrusive, but just enough to understand who she was, what her life was like, and if she needed any help. Within a few days, the assistant returned with a detailed report. Ethan read it slowly, each line cutting a little deeper than the last. Maya Collins worked long hours at the diner in a second, a job at a local grocery store. She had a younger brother, Jacob, who was 15 and had ongoing health problems. Their parents had passed away years ago, leaving her to take care of him alone. She was months behind on rent, barely managing to keep up with bills, and yet she never asked for help. She never complained. Every day she worked hard, helped everyone around her, and still found time to make Leo feel important. Ethan sat back in his chair, stunned. He had met countless people in his life some kind, many greedy, but someone like Maya, rare. Her life was hard, yet she gave freely without asking for anything in return, and she had changed his son in just a few days. Leo laughed again, played again, and even tried little things on his own, all because of her. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about what he could do. He wanted to help, but he didn't want to overwhelm her or make her feel indebted. Money had never been a problem for him, but it wasn't just about giving her cash. He wanted to make a real difference, something that would improve her life without taking away her pride. The next morning, he called his lawyer and began arranging discreet plans. He set up payments for her overdue rent and her brother's medical treatments, ensuring everything would be fully covered. All of it done quietly, without Maya ever knowing who had helped her. Ethan also started planning a way to involve her in a meaningful project, something that could give her stability and an opportunity to grow. He thought of opening a small cafe under his name but managed by her, a place where she could work comfortably, support her brother, and continue doing what she loved. Ethan didn't rush. He wanted to make sure the arrangements were perfect without disrupting her life. He watched from afar as she continued to work tirelessly at the diner, smiling at every customer, never complaining. Even on the days when she looked exhausted, he admired her more than he had ever admired anyone. Her strength, patience, and kindness were qualities he had spent a lifetime searching for, yet never fully understood until now. One evening, Ethan visited the diner himself, under the guise of a normal customer. He left the city's expensive suits behind, wearing a casual jacket and jeans. He wanted to see her in her own world, without any distractions. He watched as she greeted each person, balanced orders, and made sure Leo, who had insisted on coming with him, was comfortable. Maya noticed Leo's wheelchair immediately and rushed to help him adjust the footrest so he could sit properly. She didn't look surprised or awkward, just natural and calm. Leo laughed, pointing to one of the drawings he had made earlier. "Look, Daddy. Maya made a superhero dog." Maya smiled at Leo. "And I hear you're a superhero too, buddy. Helping me with all these drawings?" Ethan felt something stir inside him: gratitude, admiration, and a strange sense of hope. She hadn't changed at all. She was still the same kind-hearted person who had welcomed them, helped his son, and made his family feel human again. After a few moments, Ethan approached her. "Maya," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. She looked up and blinked. "Yes, I wanted to thank you. For everything you did for my son, he's happier because of you." Maya's smile was polite but cautious. "It's nothing, really. He's a great kid. Easy to like." Ethan shook his head. "No, it's more than that. You made him feel normal. And that's something no one has done for a long time." Maya looked down, clearly uncomfortable with praise. I help when I can. That's all." Ethan wanted to say more, to tell her how much she meant to him and Leo, but he held back. Instead, he nodded. "I understand. You're a remarkable person, Maya. Don't ever forget that." He left the diner that evening with a plan forming in his mind. He would help her in a way she couldn't refuse, without embarrassing her or making her feel like she owed anyone. Money alone wouldn't be enough. It had to be an opportunity that allowed her to continue being herself: strong, kind, and independent. Over the next few days, Ethan worked quietly behind the scenes. He arranged for the rent to be paid directly to her landlord, ensuring she wouldn't even have to see the money. The medical bills for Jacob were fully covered. He spoke to a few people he trusted to create a foundation that would support her family whenever needed. Everything was set up in a way that felt natural and seamless, almost like it had always been meant to happen. Meanwhile, he continued taking Leo to the diner. Maya welcomed them with her usual warmth, oblivious to the changes happening in her life. Ethan watched her laugh, saw the way she treated every customer with care, and realized something important. She deserved more than temporary help. She deserved a chance to live without constant worry, to focus on her family and her dreams. One afternoon, as Maya handed Leo a napkin puppet she had folded into a superhero, Ethan made a decision. He would return to the diner one last time before leaving town and tell her about the opportunity he had arranged. It wasn't just charity. It was a way to honor her strength and kindness. He didn't know how she would react. She might refuse, she might feel embarrassed, or she might not trust him. But he had to try. She had already changed their lives. It was time he changed hers. That night, Ethan sat in his hotel room, thinking about Maya and her unshakable spirit. He realized how rare it was to meet someone who gave so much of themselves without expecting anything in return. He thought about Leo's laughter, the way the boy's face lit up when Maya entered the room, and he felt a mix of gratitude and responsibility. He knew he had the means to make a real difference, and he wasn't going to let this chance pass. Maya had shown him what true kindness looked like. Now it was his turn to show her the impact of that kindness. Ethan fell asleep with a quiet resolve. Tomorrow, he would return to the diner, not just as a customer, but as someone who wanted to change Maya's life in a way she could never have imagined. The thought of seeing her surprised and hopefully happy kept him awake for a while, imagining the look on her face when she realized how much her small, everyday acts had meant not just to Leo, but to him as well. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt hope, not hope for his business, not hope for his fame, but hope that good people still existed in the world. And that hope was going to lead him to do something extraordinary for someone who truly deserved it. Weeks passed, and Maya continued her life as usual, completely unaware of the quiet changes Ethan had set in motion for her. Rent was being paid, her brother's medical bills were covered, and the future was suddenly a little less uncertain. Yet, she didn't know who was behind it. Life went on at the diner and grocery store, full of long hours and small joys. With Leo visiting whenever Ethan had time to bring him, each visit the boy laughed more freely. played with the napkin puppets, and drew superhero dogs with pride. Sharing them with Maya, she encouraged him every time, unaware that her small acts had started to ripple far beyond what she could imagine. One morning, Ethan called Maya and asked her to meet him in the city. He didn't tell her why. She was confused, but agreed, curious about the unusual invitation. She prepared herself as best she could, straightened her uniform, and brought Jacob along because she couldn't leave him at home alone. Ethan met them at a large, elegant building, nothing like the diner where they had first met. Maya's eyes widened as they walked inside, noticing the grandeur, the lights, and the buzz of people. "Where are we?" she whispered to Ethan, gripping Jacob's hand tightly. "Just wait and see," Ethan said with a calm smile. Though his heart raced, they entered a large hall where hundreds of people were gathered, dressed in their best clothes. There was music, chatter, and an air of excitement. Ethan guided Maya to the front, where a stage was set up. She looked around, bewildered. "Ethan, what is this?" she asked quietly. "Just a moment," he replied. Then the lights dimmed and a spotlight focused on the stage. Ethan stepped forward to the microphone, holding Leo in his arms. Maya's eyes widened further as the audience hushed. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, his voice steady and warm, "I want to introduce you to someone very special. Her name is Maya Collins, and she has changed my life and my son's life in ways she cannot imagine." Maya's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. She looked at Ethan and then at Leo, who waved enthusiastically from the stage. "For years," Ethan continued, "I thought I knew what it meant to care for someone. I thought I understood love, responsibility, and kindness. Then I met Maya. She treated my son as if he were her own, with no pity, no hesitation, just pure care and compassion. She reminded me what it means to be human, and she gave my son joy again." The audience began to clap softly, and Maya's knees weakened. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Ethan smiled at her, then looked at the crowd. "Tonight, I am proud to announce the creation of a new foundation, the Collins Foundation, named in honor of Maya Collins. Its mission is simple: to support caregivers, families, and children with special needs. Maya's kindness showed us what good people can do, and now, through this foundation, we hope to make a difference in the lives of others, just like she did for my son." The applause grew louder. Maya felt tears streaming down her cheeks, not knowing where to look. She had never expected this. She had never imagined that helping one small child in a quiet diner could lead to something so monumental. Ethan stepped down from the stage and approached her. "Maya, this is not just a foundation. It's a way to honor your strength, your care, and your heart. You don't have to worry about money, bills, or your brother's treatment anymore. Everything is taken care of. And I want you to run a new cafe project under the foundation, where you can work comfortably, continue helping people, and support your family without stress." Maya's voice trembled. I don't know what to say. I've never had anything like this before." "You don't have to say anything," Ethan said softly. "You've already done more than I could ever ask for. This is just to make sure the world knows the impact of your kindness." Jacob hugged his sister tightly, overwhelmed by the sudden turn in their lives. Maya held him close, tears flowing freely now. She looked at Ethan, then at Leo, who was smiling brightly. You mean all of this? For us?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, for both of you, and for all the families who need help. You deserve this more than anyone I know." The evening continued with more speeches, but Maya barely noticed the crowd. She was focused on the fact that her life had changed in an instant. She had worked tirelessly for years, giving all she had, never expecting anything in return. And now she was being recognized, supported, and given a chance to continue her work on a larger scale. When the event finally ended, Ethan took Maya and her brother outside. The city lights sparkled around them, and Leo held Maya's hand. "See, Maya? You did this. You made a difference," he said proudly. Maya knelt to look at him. "No, Leo, you made a difference too. You made me laugh, and you made me feel important." Ethan smiled quietly from a few steps away, watching the two of them interact. He realized that this was more than just helping a waitress. It was about recognizing humanity, kindness, and courage in a world that often ignored it. Maya had given him something money could never buy it, a reminder that love and compassion were what really mattered. Over the next few weeks, Maya began her work with the new cafe project. She had staff to help, resources to manage her brother's needs, and the freedom to focus on helping others. But she never lost her humble heart. She continued to greet customers warmly, laugh with children, and care for her brother in the same patient, kind way she always had. Ethan visited often, not as a businessman, but as a father grateful for her influence on his son. Leo ran to her every morning, ready to share his drawings, stories, and little victories. Maya encouraged him, celebrated him, and continued to teach him confidence and joy. One afternoon, as Ethan watched them from a nearby table, he realized something important. Maya's acts of kindness hadn't just changed Leo's life, they had changed his too. He felt lighter, happier, more human than he had in years. He had learned that money, power, and status could never replace true compassion. And he had seen firsthand how one person's small, consistent kindness could ripple into something extraordinary. Maya never asked for recognition. She never sought fame or reward. But through Ethan's gesture, she had received more than she could have imagined. Not just financial security, but validation, respect, and the opportunity to continue her mission of helping others. And through it all, she remained the same person she had always been: humble, hardworking, and endlessly kind. The story of Ethan, Leo, and Maya became known to many over time. Not because of wealth or status, but because it showed the power of human kindness. A young waitress who helped a disabled boy at a small diner had changed the lives of a billionaire and his son. Her actions rippled far beyond the diner walls, proving that even small acts of care and compassion could create extraordinary change. One sunny afternoon, Ethan sat on a bench outside the cafe, watching Leo play with some other children. Maya moved between tables, smiling at every customer and checking on her brother. Ethan felt a deep sense of peace he had never known. Money and success had given him comfort, but it was Maya's heart that had given him something more valuable: hope, humanity, and the joy of seeing his son truly happy. Leo ran to Maya, holding a drawing he had made of a superhero dog with a cape. "Look, Maya. Super Leo and Super Dog are saving the day." Maya laughed, hugging him tightly. "Amazing, Leo. You're the best superhero I know." Ethan watched quietly, a small smile on his face. He realized that true rewards weren't measured in money or power, but in love, laughter, and the impact one person could have on another. Maya had shown him that, and now, through the foundation, her kindness would touch countless others, for the first time in years. Ethan felt fully grateful, not for his wealth or success, but for the people who reminded him what really mattered. And as he watched Maya and Leo together, he knew that their story was only just beginning.